This is a quick video to teach you the basics of how to set up your forms in TouchHealth. If you're watching this video, you probably are new to the system, so we're just going to go through some basics here. You're probably looking at this screen. This is the first screen you land on after you log in. To set up a new form or customize an existing form, the easiest way is to go to Intake. So click this button here. You'll see this is where your forms come in from patients when they've been completed. In the upper right, you'll see Customize Your Intake Forms here. Go there. Now there's several ways to get to this page, but this is kind of the easiest, and it's the route that you'll see most often when you're using the system. You'll see here the instructions say to click Default. So there's a form already preloaded in here for you. It's very simple and it has very few features, but it's called Default. So go ahead and let's click that. We're going to customize that to make it your first form. And the first thing you see are some instructions. But you can go ahead and click those away since you're watching the video. The first thing we want to do is change the name of our form. Now the name we give to the form is the name that the patient is going to see. So if you have multiple forms, you want to use a name here that resonates with the patient and gives them information about the form that they're going to want to select. So if you put a link on your website to your forms, for example, you're going to want to, let's say, for example, you're a therapist and you have therapy for individuals and you also have therapy for couples. Well, then you want to be able to distinguish between the two. Maybe if I'm just a standard practice and I've only got just a basic form that everybody fills out when they come in, then I might just call this our main form. So let's do that. Let's just call this our main form. We'll just call it the main form. You can call it anything you want. You'll see that there are two sections. Now, every form is comprised of sections, and that is the basic premise for how the system works. You need to understand simply that you have on the left here, you have a published form. This published form is what the patient's going to see. That's what this main form is comprised of. And these are the sections that are in that published form. The available sections to add to your form are over here on the right. And you'll see that we've got some pre-designed forms for you so that you can put your main form to your published form together in an accelerated way. These are basic sections that many practices might want to use or might not. You might want to create your own version of these sections, and we'll show you how to do that in a minute. You'll see that there are two types of sections, and these are just so that you can organize these better when you look at them. The standard sections are sections that we've created for you. Custom sections are the sections that you've created for your own practice, and they're specific to you. So what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and look and see what's in here. These two are required, these two basic form sections. Basic information, patient's first name, last name, birthday, etc. These are things that almost every practice wants to see. Contact information. Most practices want to see this information, so this is not a problem. If there's something in or not in these sections that you would like to capture from your patient on your form, you can just create a custom section to grab that additional information, and we'll show you how to do that. So I'm just, for a quick demo here, I'm going to add, let's say, family medical history and habits and lifestyle, and we'll make this our entire form. So I'm going to save this. Now, when my patient comes to my website, and I'll show you where the link is later, or if I invite a patient to fill out a form, I'll show you that later, you'll see that the patient will see a form comprised of these sections. And let's look at family medical history. Whoops, I've got to go through. Let me click through this. I'm previewing the entire form. This is family medical history. I might have cancer. It might be my father had it. I would describe the location, etc. and habits and lifestyle is in there as well. So click preview. It'll take you through the entire form. Now let's go, if you want to continue with this video beyond this, let's create a custom section. You'll see up here, I'm going to move the cursor around. Under custom sections, you can go here. Let's call this our first custom section. And you'll see over here on the right, I'm going to have a list of my custom sections that I've created over time. And when I create a custom section, basically I'm going to want to ask questions, or I might want to add free text. So first thing I want to do is let's ask a question. How often do you go to the doctor? You'll see here, I click the answer type, and the answer type determines a lot about the question and what the patient sees. So you'll see that I've got a one-line text box, I've got a multi-line text field, I've got rating, for example, 1 to 5, I've got a date or date range, or I can put in a table. So it's a very flexible system. I think when I ask how many times I get, this is a very simple answer. It's just a one-line text box, and I'm going to put number here. Let's save it. And of course, I can make this a mandatory question if I want. I save that, preview it. Pretty simple. I'm not going to add, I mean, this takes a little zhuzhing, I think. When you create your forms, you can get in here and you can practice the different types of answers and see what most suits or best suits the questions you want to ask. Let's just add one more question. Let's see. How bad is the pain? 1 to 5. And here I might just do a quick rating scale. Bad, not bad. Actually, it should be the other way around, but let's just do it this way. Let's save it. Let's preview. How bad is the pain? 1 to 5. 5 being not bad. Okay, we did it backwards, but you get the point. Okay, so now I've got a custom section with two different questions. I can also add, let's say, some free text. Let's say I forgot to add the free text before, and I'll say just something like, please answer these questions. Let's save it. And I forgot to put it in the wrong place. Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just drag it up and I'll put it there at the top. Okay. Now let's say we want the patient to agree to something, which we get a request for this all the time. It's right here. You can add an electronic signature field, which simply says to the patient, by signing below using your electronic signature, you agree to these things. According to the E-Sign Act of 1999, an electronic signature is just as good as a written signature, so you can be comfortable in using this. So now I've created a very simple form. Let's go ahead and look at it. I've got, please answer these questions. How often do you go to the doctor? How bad is the pain? And the signature request. Now, one thing I do want to mention, the preview in the screen is not exactly like the form looks. The forms actually are customized a little nicer than you see in this preview, but I'll show you that later. So now let's go back to our published form, and I want to see my custom forms only. So I'm going to unclick that, and now I see the first custom section that I created here, and I'm going to move it over and add it into our existing form. Let's go ahead and save that. Now I've created a form that I can offer to my patients. And to view that form, one of the easiest ways to see the actual form is just go to our home page up here, which actually takes us to what we call the dashboard. And you'll see in the upper left here, I've got preview current forms. Let's click that. And you'll see now I'm in preview mode. This is the exact form that the patient sees. except for I've got this preview mode element, which indicates nothing's going to be saved. So I can go through my form. We saw this stuff before. My family history. I can see the habits lifestyle section there. And our custom section, how exciting. So I can, how often do I go to the doctor? How bad's the pain? Electronic signature, sign here, submit. It's all there. Now I might get to this point and I might think to myself, wow, you know, I misspelled a word, or I didn't ask a question I wanted to ask, or I wanted to do something else with this form. Well, let's go ahead and take care of that. We can just go quickly up here to edit this form and go back to where we were before. Now, while I'm here, I think you would know what to do from there. By the way, you can always go edit your custom sections. Just click here to bring them up and change whatever you want. You also might be interested in telling the system who you want notified when a form comes in. In this demo account, I actually only have one person, which is this faux provider, James Williams PsyD. And you know, in this case, I would only be able to select that person. And in this case, he would, if I select this, when the patient fills out this form, he will get an email when a form comes in. And if I click this, he will get an email when any form comes in. And that only applies, of course, if I have multiple forms in the system. So I'm going to go right now, just right here, back to this forms list. And this is where we started, and you'll see that we've only got one form in the system right now. I can do two things from this page. I can add a new form. Well, I can do three things. I can add a new form. I can edit an existing form, which will take us right back to where we just came. And I can also customize how the forms look. Now, I'm not going to actually show too much of this right now. You can get in here and fiddle around with it yourself, and you can add a logo. It'll add your logo here. You can change the background colors and text colors and things so that this form will match your website. So when the patient goes to your website, they click on a link and it takes you to the forms. It'll be a nice, smooth, understandable transition for them. If I want to add a new form, I go here. I'm not going to do that today, but clearly, you'll be able to do that because it's quite simple. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is how to put the forms on your website. How do you add these and make it a selection for your patient? You can come to here, the setup page, and you'll see on the General tab. Just scroll down. And the first thing you'll see is a selection box. This is simply helping you or allowing you to select a favorable URL for your forms. So if you can customize them and make them, give them a URL that makes sense for your practice. You then can come and look here. It'll form the URL for you. This is the link that you can add to your website. And you can create your own button. You can have your web developer create a button and use that link, or you can just put the link itself alone. It's really up to you. You can design it many different ways. You'll see we actually have created some code here that generates this button for you, but you probably would want to customize that to make it look more like your website. But if you're comfortable with this button, feel free to use this code. Or use this code as starting code and just pass that to your engineer or your web developer. You'll also notice there's a link here which is specifically for a computer in your waiting room. The only difference here is it has a little addendum here it's basically telling the computer not to cache or not to store any information temporarily, and that's for security reasons. So if the person hits the back button, or a second person comes up and hits a back button, they're not going to see the previous person's information. So it's very important that if you use the forms in a waiting room, to make sure you use this URL here. And that's it for the initial tutorial. Please send us a note to support@touchhealth.com if you need any help. and or even give us a call. And the phone number's on the website. You'll be able to find it there. And good luck. Thank you very much, and enjoy Touch Health.